brought to you by Judicial Freedom Riders, where we are all about justice. First of all, I'd like to thank you for watching this video. Also like to thank you in advance for subscribing. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do. And we want to get right, let me get right to it. The title of this video is No Oscars for the movie Selma cast. I recently watched the movie, and it's a good movie, Selma, about the Martin Luther King and his protest there in Selma, Alabama, in which he brought to light a great deal of things that we're still dealing with today. And John and I will probably do a video in conjunction with that movie. But I more want to deal with the fact that it was snubbed for Oscars. Now, I don't understand. First of all, you know, the infamous Al Sharpton said that we needed to have an emergency meeting because of the snub for the Oscars for the King movie, which is called Selma. Well, why aren't we having an emergency meeting for the amount of black homicides? Or why aren't we having an emergency meeting for the low labor participation rate in the black community? Why aren't we having an emergency meeting on the amount of abortions that are being conducted in the black community? Between 35 to 40% of all abortions are black children. Why aren't we having a meeting, an emergency meeting on that? By the way, why are we having a meeting? Let's get something done. We don't need to be having any meetings. We need to get it done. We need to go ahead and do it. But there's a deeper issue, and we're still dealing with racism. And when we are looking at the Academy Award, from what I remember, I could be wrong, and correct me in the notes below, but there are 51 members of the voting for the Academy Award. They call it the Academy. And of the 51, 93% of them are white. Now, I'm not saying all white people are racist. However, 93% of the voters in the Academy of Motion Pictures and Arts are white. They only make up 63% of the population, but they make up 93% of the voting population, and 80% are men. So 80% of the voters for the academies are white men, and total white is 93%. I look back at the movie Color Purple. I thought it was groundbreaking, introduced. I never heard about Danny Glover before and up until then. So he came on the scene with that movie. We saw Whoopi Goldberg's performance. We saw Steven Spielberg did an amazing job. He was the director. Let's see who else was. Oprah Winfrey. A great movie. It was a great movie. However, I believe they had 18 nominations, but didn't win nothing. No, they didn't have no Academy Awards. They didn't go home with it. And if they did, then maybe one or two, but they didn't go with the Academy Awards. Oh, let's go on to the movie, another movie, Malcolm X. Malcolm X by Spike Lee. Denzel Washington did an outstanding movie. Outstanding job. With Denzel Washington, he always brings his A game anyway. But no Academy Awards. I'm not even sure if he got any nominations, but none. However, let's go on another movie that Denzel did. Denzel did the movie Hurricane, another excellent movie. But what does Malcolm X, Martin Luther King, Hurricane, what all do they have in common? And even Color Purple, what all do they have in common? They have strong black characters, either in real life, such as Hurricane Carter. He was a real person who was wrongfully convicted, served time in prison for a crime he did not commit. Malcolm X, who's trying to better his community. Here you got Martin Luther King. That story about him. Hey, what he was trying to do for the black people here in the United States. Even in the color purple, what they did in that movie was groundbreaking. All black cast, So we want to know why. Look, there's nothing. It's business as usual. This should not be a shock to Al Sharpton or anyone. It's business as usual. So the best thing that we can do is just continue support our black filmmakers. We support them. But get this, Monsters Ball. Well, they had she's considered one of the most beautiful women in the world, Halle Berry. She's having sex, and I'm not sure. I don't even want to say what kind of sex that it was, but it wasn't normal sex with Billy Bob Thornton. She gets an Academy Award. Luke, and the 12 Years a Slave, the young woman, she was playing a slave. So it's all right. Whoopi Goldberg got an Academy Award for playing a crooked gypsy woman or whatever. I think it was a woman that told the fortune in Ghost. Okay, so now when we think about Denzel Washington, he got one for Glory for playing a black man who was in the Confederate Army. He got one for that in Glory, and I believe it was Denzel Washington got one for Training Day. Excellent movie, but he played a villain. So look at compare the characters that was probably Oscar worthy, and compare the characters that were actually received an Oscar. We're talking about black actors that received an Oscar and their characters, and the characters that were Oscar worthy but received no Oscar. Now, there is a hint of racism there. Maybe not a hint. Maybe there's an odor, a stank odor of racism in the motion picture industry. 93% white people that are running the industry. Go figure. Not all white people are racist. If that was the case, we would never have. We'll still be in chains. We'll still be enslaved. So I think that we have to take the good with the bad. Hey, support our black actors. Support movies with Denzel Washington. Even with Halle Berry. I would support those films that, if they're good, I would support them. Some films are not really all that good, but if they're good films, but I don't think that there's nothing to be upset about. Just being, hey, here's the reality. 93% of those voting are white. They're probably not going to. There's part of racism in there that, hey, they do not want to show strong male characters on film. It just won't happen. No, it's just not happening. So Al Sharpton, you just go ahead. I think Al Sharpton just like to hear himself, or just like he can get a lot of attention. But I think this is something that's not going to change. And mark my word, it's not going to change. Not in our lifetime. It will not change as far as who they're going to give Academy Awards. It's not going to change. Everything's going to continue to be the same, even though Al Sharpton is who he is, the loudmouth. The empty wagon gets all the oil. Anyway, this has been another edition of Handicapped Born Black in America. I'm your host, Ramon Roan. My time is up, and I thank you for yours.